We're back in my office, and here's Charles running down the hall with his Martha Stewart book. He wants to get an autograph, and I had an autograph for him.
Thank you very much.
Focus on one, coming to work.
Absolutely.
And two, then when you're here, I got an autograph for you.
Thank you.
You just wanted to walk behind her.
Yeah.
I could do that all day.
What would possess me to say you look like you lost weight?
I don't know.
You're a moron.
She's charming. And I like her. I like the Christmas stuff.
Very sweet.
But she should have had on John Lightning Hopkins. If he's still alive. She should have had Lightning Hopkins singing Merry Christmas, Baby. We'll play that in a minute here, Eddie. That's cut 2 on the Yule, on the blues album. Blues Christmas album. Whenever people on it now. Well, Sunday Boy Williams and the Make People. We'll play it in a minute. So anyway, it is time now for the national news. And with that, Charles McCord, and in just a couple of minutes, this conversation between Rush Limbaugh and Bob Dole, which I think you'll find fascinating.
Absolutely.
Anyway, here's Chuck. Good morning, Charles.
Morning, I'm In the words of USA Today reporter Tom Squitieri, quote, the Whitewater investigation has taken on the trappings of a public relations duel while both sides wait for the next legal steps. Independent counsel Ken Starr has made 2 Whitewater-themed speeches since the November election. Political consultant James Carville has formed his attack organization, sole aim to criticize Mr. Starr. Carville claims Starr ought not have subpoena power to advance the right-wing agenda. White House Press Secretary Mike McCurry told an incredulous press corps that President Clinton doesn't like what Carville is doing, but that the leader of the free world is powerless to intervene, to stop him. Judicial Watch, a nonpartisan legal ethics watchdog group, said Carville's plan is, quote, furthering the president's attempt to obstruct justice. Also weighing in with an opinion, New York Democratic Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, suggesting people in his party ought leave Mr. Starr alone, and characterized attacks on him as nonsense and said he is appointed, he has his responsibilities, let him carry them out. So says Senator Moynihan. It is Christmas at the White House. First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton unveiled the official decorations yesterday, said, isn't it wonderful how the holidays take our minds off other things?
I don't think there is any place like the White House, certainly that I'm aware of, anywhere in our country that becomes as magical as this place does during the holiday.
Why would you blow up the sentiment of the First Lady?
There is a picture of, ask Dana if we have the current issue of Time magazine. It's the one with dope smoking or something is the cover story.
Right.
I want to show you this picture of Bill and Hillary Clinton in shorts.
Oh, man, why subject us to that?
It's brutal. I mean, it's brutal.
Oh, dear.
I mean, they, well, it's just brutal. That's all.
All right. The First Lady also updates everyone on the status of the first family's Christmas shopping. Said she and the president aren't quite through yet.
We did some shopping on our recent trip.
Now, wait a minute. What is that?
Who the hell cares? I mean, come on here.
Are people interested in the first family
I'm
and
not.
kind of compare themselves to them? And
I'm not interested in, they should be shopping for lawyers.
But she was speaking of good cheer rather than Whitewater.
We're not going to have any good cheer. We'll get over that. Are we?
No, we're not.
No, we're not going to have any good cheer.
It's not going to be permitted here.
No.
No.
Meaning when Martha Stewart's making wreaths out of shredded subpoenas in Arkansas, I think it's pretty much reached all levels, you know, of...
I understand.
Yeah, it's 9 after the hour now. Charles has more news, and we're going to talk with John Feinstein. And before all of that, Rush and Bob Dole, and a pretty fascinating conversation.
Oh, why are you rolling your eyes?
Well, because you know why I'm rolling my eyes. Go ahead.
There's always Endogate, though, to distract one from the celebrating. The Lippo Bank, the Riady family, Democratic Party fundraiser John Huang, all key figures in Endogate. And now comes word that the patriarch of the Riady family, Mukhtar Riady, wrote President Clinton a letter in '93 urging him to normalize relations with Vietnam. Yesterday, the president said, yes, he got the letter, but didn't see anything wrong with that.
We will make that letter available to Congress, after which I'm sure it will be made available to you. But you'll see it's a straightforward policy letter. The kind of thing that I think people ought to feel free to write the president about.
Oh, of course.
White House Press Secretary Mike McCurry added the president is not concerned about the appearance of any possible conflict of interest, since the Riyadi family, along with the letter writing, was also writing some big checks to the Clinton re-election campaign.
The point I would make is that there's not any public record that suggests that any financial contributor had a disproportionate influence on policy.
The 1993 letter written to Clinton by the Indonesian businessman, Mr. Riyadi, outlined in careful detail, according to the Washington Post this morning, what policy positions he thought the newly elected president should take regarding Indonesia, China, and Asia in general. Attorney General Janet Reno...
Why do you think Martha Stewart's
What?
fat cats, her Himalayan blue points, are behave so well?
They like her. I think they
You know,
like her.
the people who live next door to us in the city here, Terry and John, they're the sweetest people on the planet.
Yeah.
And he's Mike Breen knows him. He's a sports guy. He's a great guy, and she's wonderful. But anyway, we never see him because, you know, they don't like us, but we like them. But anyway, she's so, but she has some cats. Terry has cats. They all get along fine.
Well, I don't know.
Well, it's the worst nightmare that we, Deidre buys this little Scottish foal, and then we had to take it back.
That's pathetic.
Well, I mean, I mean, Collins just turned into the most vicious, it was just unbelievable. They're terrorizing the poor little Chuck, and then Chuck's going all over, you know,
Making messes. Yeah.
fairly expensive stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in that, you know.
No,
but
not
I
at
mean,
all.
they're doing the poor little thing, and I don't know. It's just but I'm telling you, it's just a nightmare. I mean, it was a nightmare when you were talking about two cats, but I just said I'd take a 357 Magnum, which I have 4 of them, and just which I started to do. And then so I say to Deidre, you know, and Deidre loves animals. Well, as do I. She's not really a cat person, but that's all we want, you know, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Anyway, so then she says, all right, I'm taking Chuck back. And she took Chuck back. So I felt, you know. And then now we're going to ignore Collins. The hell with Collins. If Collins wants to be a jerk, fine. Let Collins be a jerk, the fat little bastard.
It's a cat.
Excuse my language.
You can't, you know. Come on.
It's a horrible little bastard, you know. Well, I go home yesterday, and here's Deidre walking around hugging Collins. So I said, well, how does that help? And Collins, as soon as Deidre took the cat back, she comes back home, and Collins is fine.
There you go. Knew it was out of the house. Knew that she had regained her domain. Jeez.
But you should have seen that when we were up in Southport this weekend. You said Collins stays in her teepee that Joey got her, you know.
Yeah.
And you'd reach your hand in and she'd snarl at you. Well, I hate cats anyway. I mean, I hate them. So that's where we are. So Terry next door, anyway, sent over some stuff for Chuck. Well, Chuck's come out of here, so.
So Chuck
I'll tell you, I would give Collins to somebody. I was going to call my vet, you know,
Yeah.
Dr. May, and say, find a home for Collins, but I wouldn't do that to somebody because the cat is just so absolutely neurotic and unfriendly, and it's, you know, no, the cat's never been abused. I never abused the cat. I mean,
Right.
when I lived alone, I was never there, so the cat was by itself a lot, but
Maybe it didn't like the being a solitary soul like that.
I don't know what it doesn't like. I don't give a damn what it likes.
Seeing you naked is
So then you know what we're trying to figure out. Deirdre and I are trying to figure out how long the son of a bitch is going to live. That's the latest thing we're doing.
That's horrible.
So the cat's 8 or 9 now. I think it's 8.
Yeah.
And as healthy as a horse, you know.
A long way to go then. Most likely.
And the cat's never had anything to eat, ever, other than science diet cat food. It's never had anything. It doesn't even know what regular food is.
Yep.
You could put a tuna sandwich on the floor, the cat wouldn't even look at it. So then every time I take it to the vet says the cat's in great shape. Well, it's unfortunate. I'm going to start feeding the cat now milk, Twinkies, meat. Try to teach the cat to smoke.
Just do what we do to your food.
It'll be, and so here's the thing. The cat will outlive me, or Deirdre.
Oh, you're looking at 16, 17 years for this cat, sure.
Mike Wallace is going to outlive you.
And I was leaving this morning, and the cat came out there, and I kicked it down the stairs.
No, you didn't.
Well, no, but I've started.
course
I
not.
would have liked to. I started.
You felt the impulse.
See, I was standing by the elevator opens right in the apartment. I was standing by the elevator, and the stairs are there. And I just thought, I don't want to just drop kick this little bastard down the stairs like.
Well, I'm glad you did.
What a horrible cat! God, what a horrible cat! Just horrible. You know, but it's a cat. You know, you got I mean, it's a fat little fuzzy cat. What are you gonna do?
Find it another home.
Well, you wouldn't want to give it to somebody. If you gave it to a family with a couple little kids, they'd be heartbroken because the cat would be and the cat would never get big. The cat would be under something for the rest of me.
But it'd be out of your life.
Well, you know,
Oh, man. Well, you're looking at a long hole. Absolutely.
and then I have then I was talking to Robert Andrews yesterday, and they handle my affairs and the Autobot Express stuff. He and his brother, and they're fabulous. You know, well, you know. So trying to figure out a way. He's telling me how much it's going to cost me to fly on executive jet. Well, it is so. It's not a question of whether you have the money or not, but it's a question of how insane do you want to be?
How utterly irrational.
So you know what it would cost me to fly back and forth
I know.
on executive jet to Santa Fe? Just figured it all out.
It's unbelievable.
30 grand.
Grief.
And will they be reasonable? No, they don't care. Do you think people executive jet? They absolutely don't care. It's a great company. They have about 35 of these G4s. Do you think they care? They don't care if you ever even talk to them.
Are they helpful? No.
No, they're not
a bit.
helpful at all. They're so out of line.
What a bunch of fascists.
And then some guy's trying to sell me a G2. Well, who wants a G2? Nobody.
A G2? Those things still in the air?
They won't even let them land at some airports, you know. They make so much noise.
Really? No, they don't.
So I'm back to American Airlines.
Sure.
I mean,
I hope Martha Stewart's not listening.
I love American Airlines. The only benefit of that is you get to go to Dallas and see Walter Hagen.
Yep.
Other than that, there's no point flying a commercial airline. But that's how my life is just tormented.
Well, it's just gone to hell. Absolutely.
This cat, this vicious cat,
An executive,
and the executive jet are just what I should do. In fact, that's what I'll do. Tell Dane I want to call him this morning when I get off.
Yeah.
I know what you
And tell
should
him I
do.
need another demo flight. I haven't made up my mind yet. Well, string him along here. Say I'm thinking about it,
Yeah.
and I think I'd like to. I'm very close to committing to buying a part of an airplane.
Yeah.
But I just need to get a sense
Yeah.
of how it all.
A better feel.
You
Yeah,
should,
they'll buy into that.
after the next demo flight, you
Like
should give
this.
Collins to the guys at Executive Jet.
See, these are the new tortilla.
Whoa.
These are the new turquoise buffalo tortilla chips, manufactured and distributed by Cape Cod Potato Chips. They're now available at all Stop and Shop stores, and they're fabulous. It's organically grown white corn tortilla, but but they are made with canola oil and some salt and stuff, so they taste good. And they're fabulous, and you can buy them at all Stop and Shop stores. I don't know if you can order them from Fred or not, but you can also get Fred's hot stuff at all Stop and Shop stores, and it's on sale. It's coming soon to Edwards and other supermarkets around the country, and we're trying to make a deal with Safeway or Vons or somebody on the West Coast. And I was going through the Autobot Express catalog, and I'm telling you.
Hey, Rush. Bob Dole's happy to be here with you. Bob Dole's got a lot of free time on his hands now.
What have you been doing with yourself, sir?
Well, not a hell of a lot. Puttering around. Built a birdhouse the other day. Fell out of the tree doing it, though. I didn't get hurt, thankfully. Liddy says should have built it in the shop in the basement, then taken it outside, but...
To what do we owe the honor of your phone call?
Well, Bob Dole already told you. He's got nothing to do. Election's over. He blew his wad. Got a lot of free time on his hands.
You have no particular issue you'd like to address? Some salient point to make? Intolerable political situation to discuss?
No.
Sir, may I ask, were you surprised by President Clinton's re-election?
Well, yeah, there was some statistic to the effect that in years when Baltimore won the World Series, why the Republican nominee got in the White House.
That's the Yankees.
Yeah, well, whatever. Now the only way Bob Dole's getting in there is if he's got a contribution for the Democratic Party.
How true. So, what now?
Well, thought about trying again another 4. Bob Dole's very encouraged by that Mama Teresa, you know. Girl's got some stamina. Can't keep her down. Shows what a low-fat diet can do for you, doesn't it?
Indeed.
But Bob Dole knows it's over, Rush. Fat lady's done the medley already. Time to move on.
Well, Senator, I don't want to keep you. It's been an honor having you with us.
Oh, Bob Dole doesn't have to go. He's got time to chat, whatever.
Gee, I'd love to, but I got to go to the break now.
It's okay. Bob Dole can hang on.
Sorry, Senator. We must have a bad connection. I'll let Mr. Nerdly try to get back a little later. Thanks for calling, Senator. Take care. Senator Bob Dole, folks, calling from Kansas.
You know, Bob Dole could come down to the studio there. Get your coffee for you, whatever.
Okay, Senator, well, I've got to go to this commercial now,
Okay,
so...
don't mind waiting. Maybe we can...
Oh, look at that. I cut him off by mistake. Well, we'll have to try and get him back a little later.
Oh, still here, Rush. It's a good try, though.
Coming up, Santa Clinton pardons for Christmas. More after this.
Still here, Rush.
Imus in the morning.
Imagine a network that covers sports. Just sports. And it covered sports like Sports Illustrated covers sports. And it covered the world of sports like CNN covered the world. 03 minutes for CNN.
Imus in the morning. Flashback.
Yeah, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Rob and I were talking about him yesterday. I mean, that's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy, and he had a good audience, and his audience was largely African-American, and I was doing very well with this John Tesh material. I mean, believe me, African-Americans are not they're not in Geraldo's corner, as we know from his church appearance a couple weeks ago. So you're in there, and you're doing a show, and it's like, Geraldo, boom, oh, people love it. John Tesh, boom, Garth Brooks. I mean, of course, you can trash Garth Brooks mercilessly.
Sure.
Another guy who's been on your show.
And another guy I like.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
So whatever. I'm doing Garth Brooks, and I go through the Celestine Prophecy, and I go through Adam Sandler movies, and they're all with me. Then I mention Red Lobster. And there's something about Red Lobster where it's like, hey, leave Red Lobster alone. Red Lobster is, And Chris Rock said I worked in a Red Lobster in Queens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what? I don't care. And he said, well, what's wrong with Red Lobster? And I said, the thing I don't like about Red Lobster is that when you go into Red Lobster, people have, it's sort of a place for people who are too cool to go to Denny's. That's basically it. So you walk in there, like I walk in with my son, and he's got cutoffs on, and people are looking, what are you wearing cutoffs in a Red Lobster? This is a kind of classy place.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the Quilted Giraffe, Le Cirque, Lutece, Red Lobster. And then you get to Denny's.
Oh, yeah.
My,
Hey, I.
my brother wants you to autograph it.
Traffic is next, I. And when we get through with Lori, it'll be a little after 28. Do you want me to seg the sports out of her?
I guess. I got screwed up here tonight.
No, that's fine.
Well, we got 3 stop sets left, which I can't drop another. The mics are on in here all the time, so.
Yeah, I know. I've heard.
Don't say anything horrible about losing.
You know I have a cat named after Esther.
Really?
Yeah, because I wanted to be able to tell people that when I write, Esther sits on my lap and looks at me adoringly.
All right, here now the Bell Atlantic 9 Mobile Fan Highway Patrol of the New York weather at 8:27. And with that, Laurie McNichol. Good morning, Ms. McNichol.
Good morning. I right now the Long Island Road westbound Fort Washington branch was up to 3 minutes haze here earlier. Fitness problems. Moving to Bergen County, there are a couple of problems on Common Avenue with Chili Brook.
I'll be able to get these spots out of the way. This one set. Second set here. Should we?
Yes, we should. So I'll go right to the breakout of Breen?
Yeah.
This report's brought to you by Bell Atlantic Nonics Mobile, stuck in holiday products. Bell Atlantic Nonics Mobile customers don't have to be. Just call Stardance to get the latest traffic conditions and the to where you're going. Next time you're in a jam, dial star JAM. I'm Lauren McNichol for the Beltline Technonics Mobile Fan Highway Patrol.
And now, Imus in the Morning 2020 Sports with Mark Breen.
Out of a shotgun, Nagel looking right, and his arm is hit. They're ruling it a fumble. It is recovered by the 49ers.
A disaster for the Atlanta Falcons. Good morning. Mike Breen with sports. Howard David, the call. The sportscast sponsored by AT&T, your true choice. Falcons fall to 2-11, a 34-10 thumping at the hands of the 49ers. Last year, the Falcons almost unbeatable at home. This year, absolutely no support from the fans. Coach June Jones wondered about the lack of fans at the Georgia Dome.
Where is everybody?
Niners now improved to 10-3 as the Falcons again heading to another disastrous season.
I don't know. I think if your name's June Jones, I just don't think you should be. I think you should be working with Jerry Zaks, frankly.
Brian Boyd.
Imus in the morning.
A wide-ranging interview, I might add, and here's just part of it.
Coach Riles, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
I think oak.
Interesting.
We'll replay that interview in its entirety a little bit later on.
You really are a disgraceful human being.
In the morning
You just
program.
have zero credibility. You have one of the great sports writers in the country sitting there, John Feinstein, and you're humiliating yourself.
I'm
trying to impress him.
Pardon me?
I'm trying to impress him.
Well, I don't think it's working at this point.
And that's sports. I'm Mike Breen.
In the morning.
All right, let me talk to you about LookSmart. Have you ever tried to find anything on the World Wide Web? So this is 60 or 30, you guys. Well, you know, it's impossible. You do a search, you end up with, are you sure, Bernard? You end up with pages of junk you have to scroll through. Well, now there's an easier way with LookSmart. The LookSmart folks sifted through over 1 million websites.
Jeez. How?
Except there are 30 million websites. Well, they just want, they know what to do with it. And they sifted through all of these websites, and they selected the good stuff that, in fact, will make your life a little easier. Then they arranged it so that you can actually find what you're looking for. In fact, you'll probably want to use LookSmart as your startup page. You can look it up at looksmart.com. You can look smart, or you can just keep fooling around trying to find stuff. LookSmart's easy to use. All you have to do is great graphics, too. They came and demonstrated it to me on one of those new IBM ThinkPad deals, which I wanted to get, and then Rob taught me out of it. He said it's too hard to operate. So. Anyway, looksmart.com. Check it out and find out what that deal is. So, Aurora Pens, the official pen of the Imus in the Morning program. I'm sitting here with one of these solid gold, beautiful fountain pens, and you could go get one of them if you wanted. But they make pens, ballpoints, and all those kinds of almost any pen you could possibly want. He's up in the garage fooling around, and he engineered this thing so that it, in fact, sounds like a full-blown.
It's incredible.
Nobody beats a Wiz stereo system. I mean, they're unbelievable. So you call and buy one. 1-800-625-BOSC.
Bell Atlantic is trying very hard to convince you that if you dial 10
These headphones look like ears itch. What?
Go to the doctor. Have a clean. Read.
But I'm used to them now. I like them. Did you meet John Feinstein?
Certainly did. There, Mr. Feinstein. Nice fish.
Lobster's a piece of work, isn't she?
She's the greatest. Just ask her.
She's a tormented little soul. Vicious little personage.
All right, coming up. You'll probably break about 42 or so, right?
Yeah, why?
Just wanted to get an idea.
You don't worry about what I'm going to do.
10-4, not worrying. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Imus in the morning. It's 34 minutes past the hour. We're at Infinity Broadcasting Headquarters in New York City, syndicated around the country on the radio by Westwood One Entertainment. And you notice Breen is sucking up to Dallas now because we're on a great station in Dallas.
Yep.
An FM station in Dallas, and the station we're on in Orlando is, that's a pretty good station, too.
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact.
Where's the station we're on? It sucks. There's a station down there, Tampa. The Tampa station's just as
1010.
Yeah. I guess they're doing a little bit better. Anyway, and we're on MSNBC Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., and it's rolled out across the country, Eastern Time. John Feinstein is here, and his book is entitled A Civil War, and it is about a year inside college football's purest rivalry, the Army-Navy football programs, published by Little Brown. Mr. Feinstein wrote the best-selling sports book of all time, A Season on the Brink, which is about Bobby Knight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Not Dennis Rodman's book. Dennis Rodman's book's not a sports book. It's like a Howard Stern book. So.
Exactly.
So you got all the... Somebody told me you got torqued off at Costas because he suggested that Dennis Rodman's book
Yeah,
was a
Costas
sports...
said, how do you feel about the fact that Rodman outsold you? I said he didn't.
Yeah.
And they haven't even put that book out in paperback yet. And when they do, they're going to have to really spread the lines out to fill a couple hundred pages.
First of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And by the way, I was very impressed with Green ripping Pat Riley.
You were?
Yeah, that's a good way to suck up to me.
You don't like Pat Riley?
I'm not a Pat Riley guy.
Okay. Anyway, also, Ms. Feinstein wrote this golf book, which was just hideous. A Good Walk Spoiled. I can't imagine anybody would want to read. It was, I'll tell you who, it was a #1 bestseller in both hardcover and paperback of the New York Times. And he covers basketball for the Washington Post currently, right?
No, actually.
Oh, you don't?
No, not anymore. I wrote a basketball column for him for a few years, but now I'm sort of off on my own, as they say.
Let's get this bio updated then.
It's a good idea.
Giving the man bogus information.
I've been
It's like a
telling people
moron.
for a year now.
He writes for every other sports magazine in existence, however.
That is correct.
He appears on National Public Radio's Morning Edition, which is our big competition, strangely enough. And he appears on the Sports Reporters with Fat Dick Schaap and my little friend Mike Lupica. Did you read Lupica's book?
Yes, I did.
Be honest now.
I thought Michael did a very good job. I really
Well, yeah,
did.
you know why he did? He stole his ideas from you.
He stole his ideas from me.
Yeah.
We sat around and talked about it, and I said, write this, and he did, and it's a good book.
All the stuff that you and talk about, that fat guy from Philadelphia, what's his name?
Bill Conlon. My mother-in-law always calls me after I'm on the show and says, you know, you should always sit next to that Bill Conlon because when you do, it makes you look thin.
I kind of like him, though.
He's a good guy.
Yeah,
He really
I
is.
like him. He's a you know, very gruff and caustic and
He's a
all that
curmudgeon.
stuff. So, should you have written about this year's teams, or?
No, not really. For one thing, it helps me that the teams are doing so well with the book coming out because people are paying attention to Army and Navy more than they normally do. But beyond that, last year was a very dramatic year for both schools. Bob Sutton, the Army coach, who's now being hailed as a possible National Coach of the Year, was fighting to save his job. If they don't pull that game out, 14-13 last year, he's fired. Navy had 12 straight losing seasons. They had a new coach. Their seniors had never beaten Army. They lost to him 3 times by a total of 5 points. So it was a very melodramatic year, and the game played out almost like a movie script. I mean, if I had written it as a piece of fiction, people would have said, come on, get this out of here. But it was real.
That's almost the best section in the book, your recitation of that game. It's just...
Well, again, it worked out so perfectly for me because you had all these building stories, and they all seemed to culminate in the game. John Conroy, the fullback, who had only had 1 carry going into the season, and the night before the game, he gets up and gives this very emotional speech to his teammates about playing his last football game. Because, of course, at Army and Navy, they're not going to be pros.
No.
Roger Staubach, Napoleon McCallum come along once a decade, maybe, so they know when they play that last game as seniors, they're finished with football. And they've played it just as hard and just as long as the guys at Florida and Nebraska and all the superpowers. And he gives this speech to his teammates about football ending for him and how much it means to him and how much he wants his last memory of the game to be a positive one. He gets hurt in the game. He comes out. The trainers say, you're done. Sit down. Watch the rest of the game. And he looks up at the clock with 4:48 left. And he says, I've got less than 5 minutes left to be a football player. I've got the rest of my life to heal. He puts himself back in the game, doesn't check with the coaches, and scores the winning touchdown. I mean, that's movie stuff. So
What kind of coaches that doesn't know who's in a game? That's the first thing I'd like to know. Jesus, huh?
Yeah. Happens in football all the time. You know, there's a lot of players going up and down that sideline, so it's hard to keep track.
We're talking with John Feinstein, whose book, A Civil War, is last year's Army-Navy campaigns. And I was telling John back in the office that a moron like me would be only a moron like me would be irritated at this. But in the opening of the book, you find out who wins. And I took a poll here this morning because, you know, the only sports we do is Breen, but there's not one person in this room who knew who won last year's game.
I'm not shocked to hear that.
But then I read a review of a couple of reviews of this book that it doesn't make any difference. And as you read the book, it doesn't make any difference that you know who won. That although, you know.
You didn't want to know.
No, I didn't want to know. I wanted to wait till the end to find out, you know.
Well, you know, the point of that anecdote at the beginning of the book, when Jim Cannell, the Army captain, goes down to console Andrew Thompson, the Navy captain, is to explain to the reader right away why you want to care about these people. Why, even though they're not ranked in the top 10 and aren't any Heisman Trophy winners in either locker room, why they're special, why the rivalry is different than other rivalries. And what makes it different is the bond. between the kids at the two academies. The fact that, you know, only a midshipman can really understand what a cadet goes through, and only a cadet can really understand what a midshipman goes through. And the fact is, they may someday fight together on the same side in a battle that's a little more important than a football game. And I wanted to bring that all together, and that scene, I think, does. It tells you who these guys are, what they're about, and why the rivalry is different. And I apologize for giving away the score.
One of the interesting points you make is the hardest thing for most athletes at any football college in the country is football practice. The easiest thing at the academies, particularly the Naval Academy and West Point, is the easiest thing is football practice.
Right, exactly.
Air Force, I imagine. Air Force.
Well, Air Force, they call it the Country Club Academy. They get to sleep till 7, so they've got it easy.
You really can't take Air Force that seriously. I mean, please. But, you know, I kind of felt sorry for us. What's the field goal kicker's name?
Ryan Buccineri.
Yeah, I mean...
He's been through hell and back.
You didn't help him here, did you?
Well, what I tried to do was tell his story.
Yeah, oh, great.
And
bring that up again. Oh, good.
Thanks a lot, John, right?
Yeah.
But he wanted to tell his story. I mean, you can tell reading the book that I spent a lot of time with him.
Tell me a little bit about what happened now.
1993, when he was a freshman in the Army-Navy game, and that was a horrible week at Navy because on Wednesday of that week, Alton Grizzard, who'd been the quarterback in 1990, broken most of Staubach's records, had been murdered in a bizarre double murder-suicide out in California. And so it was a horrible week to begin with. They go to play the game. They're down 16-0. They battle back to 16-14 in the rain over in Giant Stadium. Game comes down to Buccineri coming on the field to kick an 18-yard field goal. Chip shot.
No.
He misses. Wide right. And then he handled the miss fabulously. He came in, and, you know, at the academies, when you're a freshman, the only answers that are acceptable when an upperclassman speaks to you are yes, sir, no excuse, sir. Because they have to teach you not to make excuses, because if you make excuses in war, people die.
Yeah.
So he came in, and they said, well, the snap might have been bad, the field was wet, the angle was tough, and he kept saying, no, I missed the kick, I missed it, I was responsible. And it became a national hero for stepping up and being accountable, which especially in sports these days is so unusual. Sports Illustrated did a 9-page story on him, beautifully written story by Bill Neck, but his teammates started to resent the fact that they felt he was reveling in the celebrity of failure. And Buccineri will tell you that he said, I didn't want to call attention to myself for missing a kick.
No.
But they came to resent him. The brigade came to resent him. He became kind of a pariah on the campus to the point where people were plastering wide right on his door the day before the Army-Navy game the next year.
I kind of like that.
Was it you?
No, it wasn't me.
So he missed another kick the next year, early in the game, but they
Also
lose by 2 points. Wide right again. So now it's like he's got it on his forehead, WR, the scarlet letters. And his junior year, the year I write about in the book, he became the 4th-string kicker. He was demoted, and he was walking onto the field. You know, the brigade has to march on before games, and he's marching on with his company because he's not in uniform for the game. And some of the other members of his company did what's called a slam cadence on him, which is, you know, if you see a movie, any military movie, you see them marching along and the guy's calling out a cadence like, we don't want to go to war, something like that. So they did one of these cadences on him, and it was like, one of the phrases in it was, we used to think it was just bad luck, but now we know that he just sucks. Yeah. And after that, it really got tough. And that's a brutal thing for a kid to go through. And
feels so, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought you'd like it. That's why I picked up that phrase. But it's really been rough, and he'll play his last game Saturday in the Army-Navy game.
We're talking with, and where is he on the team now?
4th string. He has not touched the field this year and won't.
Oh, he won't?
You'll get to kick Saturday before he does.
Is he still ostracized by the rest of the team?
To a large degree. You know, kickers are always kind of out there. They're different.
I know. Just as a result of that, I'm rooting for Navy.
No, you're rooting for Army.
I am?
Yeah.
Because he's on the Navy team.
He's on the Navy team.
Right. Well, I made a mistake.
I'm here for you.
Silly.
The Army kids are jumping up and down and hugging each other, and I was thrilled for them. And the Navy kids are all pouring tears. And, you know, I started crying. And when we got in the locker room, in the Navy locker room, that's the most devastated place I've ever been, outside if you're dealing with real tragedy, you know, like that. Yeah. But, I mean, it was devastating.
Well, Army's 9-1?
Navy's 8-2.
Navy's 8-2.
And one of them's not going to get to go to a bowl because the bowl system's so screwed up.
Have they both beaten Air Force?
Yes. Both beat. Navy beat him out there, and Army beat him at home. First time in a long time.
No.
And the Air Force beat Notre Dame. So all 3 of the academies are pretty good.
You know, I shut off the SC Notre Dame game at halftime.
Did you?
I did.
He just figured there was no way.
Yeah.
And, well, I went to bed because I had to get up at 6 to do sports reports the next morning. I figured there was no way.
I was so happy.
So was I. Holmes and Pat Riley are just saying to me.
What's the greatest football game ever played? Being an old Green Bay man, I'd have to say the '67 Ice Bowl. But you know,
Good kids and stuff?
I have a 3-year-old son
the greatest
and 2 cats.
When you're mixing it up with 100 yards.
One they missed. One they missed.
One of those fancy Cape Canaveral type of fragments.
She was flattered when they named me by it, and so I started describing the things the cat does.
I love those. This is James.
She's
never tell her that.
She's listening.
Well, it's just killing me. So you know they're going right. Is it lower in here?
Is that a new bridge?
This one, it's a permanent bridge. This one's 2. Oh. Annoying. How much time do I have here?
$30 seconds to Laurie.
Press the right goddamn button. How about that?
I'm sorry, sir. My fault. No excuses. 30 seconds. 20 now. 5.5 minutes free before the last toss-up.
Here's a joke Dr. Benjamin told me. Woman comes home. It's just a repulsive joke my dentist told me. Woman comes home. And she says, I'd like to have my... They've been married a long time. She says, I'd like to have a breast enlargement. Because, she said, my breasts are out of proportion with the rest of my body. He says, well, you know, there are a lot of health hazards. There's, you know, cancer, and they leak, and they don't look real. He says, take this toilet paper and rub it between your breasts every night. She said, what good is that going to do? He said, what good is your ass? Isn't that horrible? I mean, that's my dentist. Now, he's telling me this joke in front of this...
That's kid, he is good. And the assistant is there. Taking around.
He's a lovely guy. I don't mean to... God, my back. All right, I have to get you to autograph this before.
Here we go, I.
Delivery call 1-800-NYCI. 1-800-NY-TIME. Onboarding info to the Beltline Technonics Mobile Fan Highway Patrol.
It is 10 minutes till the hour, and I am Imus. We're talking with John Feinstein. His book is entitled A Civil War, Army versus Navy. It is published by Little, Brown. It's not like some person, Little.
Like a diminutive person.
Gary Brown.
Yes,
Right, exactly. And it is a year inside college football's purest rivalry. It's another word I can't say.
Yeah.
In that, you know, these kids play for Army and Navy, then they go in the Army and Navy. They don't go to the Giants or the 49ers or something. How'd you get this kind of extraordinary access?
Well, it took a while. I first had the idea back in 1990, the first time I ever saw an Army-Navy game, when I saw the scene at the end of the game, which television isn't smart enough to show most years, when the players, after trying to kill each other for 3 hours, walk together down to the end of the stadium, where the Brigade of Midshipmen's on one side, the Corps of Cadets is on the other, and they stand at attention for each other's alma maters. And they, you know, first one side, they walk together, then the other side. And it's not like any other football game you'll ever see. And this was 6 weeks before Desert Storm. And when I watched this, I thought to myself, these guys might end up fighting together someday. And that's when I decided I wanted to do the book. I couldn't get the access I wanted for 1991, so I went away, did other stuff, kept coming back to the idea every time I saw the game, though. So finally last year, I decided to try again. The Navy had a new coach. I thought I might have a chance to, now that Bob Sutton had been there for a few years at Army, to get in the access I needed. And it was a struggle, to be honest. And the only reason I got the access at Army, I'm convinced, is because Bob Sutton's players convinced him that he should let me in and give me the access to the locker room. And then once I got inside a little bit, I was able to keep going, go to class with him, get up with him in the morning, be there at 6 when they get inspected and all of that stuff. And it was really fascinating for me. The non-football stuff was almost more interesting than the football stuff.
How often do you get home when you're doing a book like this?
I was very lucky because Navy's 45 minutes from where I live and Army's 45 minutes from where my wife's parents live.
Oh.
So I would just take my wife and son and we'd go and spend a week at their house and I'd commute from there. So in that sense, it was the best book I've ever done because I almost didn't have to leave home.
What's been the reaction from both camps?
Very, very positive. I mean, obviously, if you read the book, you can tell I respect the players who go to the academies and the academies. They're flawed. They've had problems at both places. But obviously I feel very strongly about these kids, and the reaction from above, and most importantly to me, from the players, has been very positive. In fact, Saturday night after the game, I'm taking a bunch of players from last year's Army team and last year's Navy team to dinner together, because
that'll be fun.
Yeah, and they both had expressed interest in getting to know each other better after reading the book. So I think that'll be neat.
The book is worth reading, and we just talked about this earlier, if only for your account of last year's game. That's just
such an amazing game, because Navy's up 13-7.
Too bad you didn't write that for a newspaper, did you?
No, I didn't.
No.
I didn't. I mean, obviously, one of the things when you have the kind of access I have, they give it to you on the basis that they know you're not writing on a daily basis, that it won't appear in the next day's paper. But it was so extraordinary for me emotionally, because at that point I knew the players on both teams so well, I didn't want either group to lose their last football game. And so as the game swung back and forth, I kept swinging back and forth. And when it was over, I was totally drained.
Got to relax a little bit.
I think so.
Take a deep breath.
A little less coffee.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just these kids playing football, But I mean, it is. It makes you like college football.
It made me like college football again.
Although my team is, and my wife will attest to this, my team is the Florida State Seminoles, and not just because I watched it.
Wasn't Florida your team last week?
No, because I had on I had my Seminole T-shirt on this weekend.
There you go.
So as I watched the game, I did like you did during the World Series and stuff. Army, as I asked you during the break, Army is. Well, I knew Army was 9-1.
Right.
And
Navy's 8-2.
Yeah. So and that game shapes up for. Well, first of all, one of them. This is one of them will win the Commander's Trophy, right?
One of them will win the Commander-in-Chiefs, and probably only one of them will get a bowl bid, which is very unfair. The bowl system currently is screwed up with all these conferences tied into bowls, so you got all these 6 and 5 teams going to bowls, and Army or Navy might get left out.
Even though I was in the Marine Corps and I would be, the Marine Corps is part of the Navy, I'm rooting for Army this year only on the basis of the way they're still treating the field goal kicker. I mean, come on. That's what I thought one of the worst things in sports ever. One of the worst things in sports ever was the way they treated this first baseman from the Boston Red Sox. What's his name?
Mo Vaughn?
No. The guy,
Buckner.
Bill Buckner.
Billy Buckner. That's interesting
that's
you bring that up. I was in that locker room in 1986 after the ball went through Buckner's legs, and he stood there for 1 hour and answered every question in a situation where most guys would have hidden and wouldn't have talked to anybody. And he had almost 2,800 hits in his career, and that's all people remember is that ground ball.
That's criminal.
By the way, what was the score of that game when that happened?
8-6.
No, it was tied.
That's what I
meant.
meant.
See, people forget.
Wave goodbye to MSNBC, Charles.
Goodbye, MSNBC.